Hello everyone, it's Andre here from SWL. This video is an interview with a presenter from a clandestine radio station. Clandestine radio stations are stations that operate in an unofficial manner and target various countries around the world because of censorship reasons or to push for political change or during wartime. This one is Voice of Fano. There is conflict in Ethiopia between various ethnic groups, and this radio station was founded to represent the Amhara people. So I spoke to a presenter on the radio station, and he is also involved with programming and liaising with Ethiopian people all around the world. And he explained to me exactly why this station was founded, what it does, who the listeners are, how it operates, how they create their programming, all kinds of questions and information that you might have about how these clandestine stations operate. Because of the secretive nature of these clandestine stations and the conflict situation in Ethiopia, I cannot identify him by his full name, but he is one of the presenters on the station. There is very little reporting around the world about the suffering that the Amhara people in Ethiopia are experiencing at the moment. So this radio station tries to reach those people in Ethiopia, and they are trying to spread news and information about what is going on. If we can maybe start by talking about Voice of Fano, what it is, why did you start the station? Tell me a little bit about the history and the background of that station.
Sure, Andre. Yes, the story and the backdrop of our radio station is to be the voice for voiceless, to raise awareness about the ongoing genocide in the Amhara ethnic group in Ethiopia, which has been marginalized and targeted over 3 decades since 1991. The radio station aims to give a voice to the Amhara people who've been victims of discrimination, ethnic cleansing, and systematic cleansing, and then on the ongoing genocide. So the Amhara people is the largest ethnic group in Ethiopia, who are the original people in Ethiopia who dates back about 3,000-4,000. I don't know if you know the history of Ethiopia. They're the founders of the Ethiopia, the Abyssinia kingdom back in the days, and the kingdom starts. They go back counting their kingdom from Solomonic dynasty, and since then, people move migrations here and there. There were stories of migrations, people mix, and then what we have right now is Ethiopia is made up of about 80 ethnic groups, Amhara being the largest and the original people. But since about 50 years ago, the country changes and discriminations and ethnic cleansing started. And in 1991, there was an official group led by the Tigray people, the TPLF, who targeted the Amhara people as an enemy and started to discriminate and systematic killing and, so because of that, now the entire country, it looks like there's a anti-Amhara sentiment is going on among the 80 ethnic groups. Because of that, Amhara is the target of genocide everywhere it lives. About 60 million people are Amhara descendants in Ethiopia, and about 20 million of them live outside of the so-called region called Amhara. Starting 2018, the current Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed waged a systematic war against Amhara people. He's from Oromo descent, and the Oromo migrated about the 16th century to Ethiopia from Kenya and neighboring countries. And ever since the migration, Ethiopia was not the same. But since Abiy Ahmed, the current prime minister, came to power, it's a total disaster. And in fact, last year, he, under the guise of emergency, state of emergency, he declared a full genocidal war against the Amhara people. And the Amhara people said, no, we're not going to give up our guns, and uh, we're not going to surrender. We're not going to be victims anymore. So we're late to start the war to resist.
Can I ask, do you get international support from some countries or some movements?
Unfortunately, the Fano, the Amhara movement, never gets a dime from any other country. Unlike any other rebels or movements that you know of in the history of other countries, especially, for instance, if I take you back the Tigray, I mentioned about the Tigray liberation movement who
Mm.
controlled power in 1991. They're from Tigray ethnic group. They're only about 5 million currently. So back then they were 2.5 or 3 million. So they were supported by the Americans and everybody, the West. So they brought them to power. But despite the genocide, the clear, obvious genocide going on, no support, even humanitarian help is not allowed to get in.
Mm.
2, 3 years ago, the current regime what was the Tigray Liberation Front, who were kicked out of power about 5 years ago. They wanted to come to power about 3 years ago, so the country joined together and kicked them out. In fact, when they came in, they came through the Amhara region,
Mm.
uh, causing tremendous damage. They also committed mass killings of Amharas, and they managed to push up to about 100 kilometers just before the capital city. And the Americans and every the Western countries were happy to see them marching to the capital. But unfortunately, the Amharans rose up and helped the the now government, the regime, the current regime, not because they supported the current regime, but just to resist the Tigran movement,
Mm.
the Tigran pushing to the all Amhara region. So, and then once the current regime completed the war against the Tigran people, it moved attacking the Amhara. So that's where we are right now.
Yeah. And in international organizations like the United Nations, do you have any representation there, or have you made representations there?
We are trying. We're trying. People in the diaspora, they're trying. So the government has a lot of support from, especially from the Middle East, Arab countries, and they are managing to suppress any voice that could get in at the international level, and they use all the country's resource in dividing the diaspora even, and all kinds of ways to block our voice. But people in the diaspora and other movements advocating for the Amhara group are trying to uh, get the words out, get the information out, and it's getting traction just a little bit now. But as
Yes.
far as the genocide, it looks like the world is giving a blind eye, and it's very sad to see that. And people are worried about the march for Palestine, but I can tell you every day more people die in Amhara region than in Palestine. You're talking about 30,000, they're still counting in Palestine, right? More than at least 100,000 people are dead in Amhara region. Nobody's counting.
And it's not really reported much in the news media. I haven't seen much about that.
Yeah, the BBC, the Voice of America, Deutsche Welle, the German, they're all looks like they're, it's just there's some kind of going on. It's been historically that has been the case because Ethiopia is, like I said, founded by the mainly the Amhara people originally, and those people, the Amhara people, have been very national. And there's a history of the Italian War, if you remember, the fascism came through Ethiopia and they got defeated a couple times, and there is that going on. So it looks like it stems from back then, and nobody wants to give these people any more chance for their voice to be heard.
What do you see as the ultimate solution? An independent Amhara state, or what are you fighting for?
So we're fighting to stop the genocide, the first thing, and to topple the current ruling government. The Fano is fighting to resist the ongoing genocide against Amhara people and to control their own political power. Nobody from this on is going to wage any genocidal war or any discrimination whatsoever. If the Amhara people founded Ethiopia, they don't want to lose Ethiopia. As far as I know, and our sentiment, we're not a secessionist group. We would like to resist this genocide, and we also like to help other ethnic groups so that we can live together in one country.
Okay, and then the radio station, what is the role of the radio station in this?
So yes, so the role of the Voice of Fano plays really a very important role. It's a very vital role for the Amhara community, both in Ethiopia and beyond, in the diaspora. Even within the country, in Ethiopia, the government controls all communication outlets, including phone, media, radio, TV, internet. So the people within the country, they're not aware of the atrocities being committed against Amhara people in the region. Ethiopia is divided by ethnic regions. About more than 20 million people live outside the so-called Amhara region within Ethiopia. So those people don't have any idea what is going on in the Amhara region. So they are not aware of what's happening to their relatives, to their fellow Amharas. And the rest of the ethnic groups that make up Ethiopia also are not aware of what's going on within the country because the ruling regime controls all kinds of communication and it's all about the ruling regime's propaganda and what have you. So the Voice of Fano plays an important role in informing the public about the truth about what is going on in reality, as opposed to propaganda.
Mm-hmm. And the radio station, does it broadcast every day?
So the radio station currently runs every Wednesdays and Saturdays. When you picked it up, the program was running for about half an hour, but right now we expanded the program on the same days, Wednesdays and Saturdays, for an hour and 15 minutes. So right now it's running from local time 8 p.m. to 9:15. And we were able to expand this program with collaborating with other groups who are advocating for Amhara people. Their name is One Amhara Movement. They really are good in advocating for the Amhara people. They have roots and connections with the Fano group on the ground. So we were able to get information, teach the people, increase their awareness politically as well as what's going on. And we plan to expand in the future in terms of time span as well as frequency within the week.
And when did the broadcast start?
The broadcast started, the Voice of Fano started about 6 months ago now, 5.5, about January, mid-January. It's running up to now about close to 6 months.
So what is the feedback that you get from within Ethiopia about the station? Do people listen? How do they listen?
So the feedback, yes. Voice of Fano currently receives phone calls, emails from listeners. They tell us, the program is good. In fact, one of the reasons that we were pushed to expand our program is because of the demand of the people who are reaching out to us. It's very short. We're not getting all the information. There's so much going on in the country, but half an hour is not cutting it. So we were able to join with this one Amhara group in expanding the hours and giving them the programs and the information they need. I get I get information as far as feedbacks and what's going on in the country. But whenever they call us, they leave us a message sometimes and or just give us a missed call and then we call them back and that's how we communicate.
Where do you have studios where you produce the programs, or how does it work? When they want to call you, how do they contact you, the listeners?
So we have phone numbers that are, active in multiple continents. So our people forward, the calls here and there, whoever is available, and depending on the time zone, they'll pick it up and relay the information to the Fano team. The radio team was producing, running, and then collecting information. So that's how we get the calls.
And the production of the programs, how does that happen?
So the production it's a mobile. We don't have studios currently, but wherever we are, wherever our team is, there's our studio. So we're able to produce from multiple countries. We get information from the ground. We have people giving us the information, be it in Addis or outside Addis, and then sometimes we use neighboring countries to get informations. And as you know, uh, regimes that are uh, genocidal regimes, such as the current Ethiopian government, does not allow information information sources to be free, and there's always communication medium jam. So internet is jammed, all social medias are jammed. So we find a way to relay those informations, and then we're able to use our laptops and what have you wherever we are. So we use our mobile devices to use as a station studio.
Okay, yeah, because I actually wanted to ask you about the jamming and about the internet, about whether you use the internet and whether the station, the shortwave station, is being jammed, or whether people can pick it up quite freely in Ethiopia.
So currently the program is not jammed. We have not detected any sign of jamming, but we anticipate that, and in that anticipation, we're using the 500 kilowatt distribution method. The station, the airtime is that we get it from, we don't have the station. We're just buying the airtime from these big radio stations around the world. I think this one is, as you detected it, run from France, right? So
Yes,
it is
yes.
distributed from there, yes. So we buy the airtime from them, and whenever we have difficulties, they will help us switching the frequency or increasing the kilowatt in order to mitigate the jamming from government, or if there's any technical issues. So
Mm.
we have not, but we anticipate that would come. That's on our way, because if the government I don't think the government is paying attention in this shortwave radio medium right now. They're occupied and with the social media. They're bombarded with the social media. They're opening this, closing the other one, and people are using VPN and all kinds of tricks to mitigate that cyber war.
Mm.
So for now, Voice of Fano is clean out of, it's not jammed or anything. And we pray that it stays that way, but that's not how reality goes. We'll find a way once that happens.
Yes. So is that one of the reasons why you actually chose to transmit on shortwave? Because I think I mean, my channel is about shortwave, but it is not as popular as it used to be. Many people still use it for the reasons that you mentioned now, among others, because the internet can be jammed sometime or censored easier than shortwave radio. Is that why you picked it?
Exactly, yes. So shortwave, as you are the expert, you know more, but from the end user side, we know that information is really important during this time, and the people need us, and we ourselves uh, need a whole lot of information. So be it telephone, internet, all these social media, including Viber, Telegram, WhatsApp, uh, all kinds of the social media that people outside Ethiopia count uh, in their everyday use. It's a luxury in Ethiopia. The government can just turn one switch off and then shut down the whole thing. And it is shut down in Amhara region, especially. There's only sporadic use of telephone. Otherwise, Telegram and WhatsApp and data system is not available.
Mm, mm,
So we cannot, all these social media, especially that any communication that relies on internet is not reliable. So the only and the viable way is shortwave radio. As you are well aware, shortwave radio is getting more significance in the war in Ukraine and in any other big countries as well.
mm.
So it's coming to play, and people are realizing its importance. And I believe shortwave is the way for many reasons, especially in countries and governments that are uh, oppressive as the Ethiopian government.
Mm. And as you said earlier, your feedback is that people actually do pick up the station. They have shortwave radios, they get a good signal, they can listen to you.
Yes, so they listen, but there are, depending on the area, some of them experience some difficulties, especially with old radios getting the exact number, and some of them have old radio, uh, and as far as that, yes, they do experience some difficulties. But for the most part, the radio signal, like I told you, we use a 500 kilowatt power, and
Mm,
I believe the radio station also gave us a good frequency line where the our audio is stronger.
mm. Yeah, I think the fact that I picked it up in South Africa, which is quite some way from Ethiopia, shows that the signal is quite strong. I mean, it travels far. So people can also listen, I think, all around Africa and probably elsewhere and pick it up. That's the wonderful thing about shortwave signals is you never know how far they will travel.
Yes, that was to my amazement. It was picked up in South Africa. The station gave us a map where the signal reaches, but we were not sure it was going to reach that far.
Mm,
So I was really surprised if you were YouTube channel to our team, and then they sent it to me, and then I was amazed to have our radio station listened by South Africans. So that was not our target, but we do know that we have Ethiopians in South Africa. Uh, you know, we, we're also interested in, because of the genocide and the discriminations and the ethnic cleansing against Amhara people. A lot of Amhara people, as well as other ethnic groups, have fled the country, including South Africa and the neighboring countries. So
mm,
we do have listeners in other countries, and it's really good to know that the audio is audible in other areas outside of Ethiopia. From the
mm,
map, it covers from all the way from around Israel, Middle East, as far south as South Africa. So really happy
Mm.
to learn that.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite a reach. Can I maybe ask you, I mean, if you are willing to share, what is your exact role with the radio station?
So I am one of the presenter, and I also wear many hats. I collect information. I serve as a go-between between the Fanos and the diaspora team, and all kinds of activities that is, uh, that is useful to the radio program and disseminating the what is going on within the country.
Mm. Okay. And then I asked you in my email, do you have QSL cards? Will you be able to send QSL cards to listeners?
No, I did not before you mentioned, so I had to Google that, and we have not used that. As you know, let alone mail system, even phones and other uh, infrastructures are not working. They're not operating in Ethiopia, especially in the Amhara region. So all schools are closed. Few areas are served with basic social necessities, banks, clinics, schools. Other than that, about 90% of the Amhara region is under uh, heavy artillery, drones, jets, and all that kind of thing. So we do not have that luxury to send mails or use internet, as you suggested, that people don't use internet right now. But I was alluding earlier, we try to get feedbacks from our listeners by people, word of mouth, and whenever phone is available. So we did not use that. But we asked the radio station whether, they can help us in terms of tracking number of listeners, or how our audiences are, whether is it increasing or decreasing. But unfortunately, from the shortwave radio feature, there's no such technology that would track listeners as in the case with TV or other social media tracking systems.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know if
kind of feedback I think you can only get from direct feedback from your listeners in terms of the phone calls and the emails.
right. I'm not sure if there is one, you probably can help us in identifying what technology we can use.
Yeah, there is not. That's one of the challenges of shortwave radio for many broadcasters. Is it's very difficult to know exactly how many people are listening to you. That is one of the reasons why they do the QSL cards. But I do understand your situation that it's not something that's feasible. What I would suggest maybe, if there's an email address where people can just contact you and report that they have received you, that will also give an indication of, where people can hear you and how many people are listening.
Yes, we use email as well, but it's limited in those areas where internet is available. So that's the shortcoming. But we try to make use of what we have and what we can get.
Mm-hmm. But for listeners like myself, people who enjoy this as a hobby, can they use the email address that you and me used for communication if they want to just report that, listen, I've heard your station, I'm in Australia, I heard you.
Yes, that's the email we use. Yes.
Okay. Can you repeat it here just so they can hear it in this video?
Yes, the email address is thefanovoice@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you for that.